I'm Tracy. Last month, at the Thompson family reunion, I watched in awe as my daughter, Ava, stepped out of a helicopter onto my father's front lawn. The look on my family's faces was a mix of shock, confusion, and something that resembled fear. Ava, the girl they once dismissed as average, now stood before them as the CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company. The silence in the backyard was deafening as she walked towards us, her steps confident and her presence commanding. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in a large, wealthy family in the heart of Chicago. My father, Henry Thompson, was a powerful businessman with old-fashioned values. He believed that sons were the future of the family, while daughters were there to support and marry well. I was the eldest of 3 children. My brother, Ethan, 2 years younger than me, was the golden child. My father paraded his achievements like trophies, from his Ivy League education to his high-profile business deals. Then there was my sister, Sophia, 5 years younger. She spent her life trying to win our father's approval, often at my expense. As for me, I was the invisible one. Despite graduating at the top of my class in high school and getting a degree in engineering, my accomplishments were never recognized. My father once scoffed at my choice of career, saying that engineering was a man's job and that I should focus on finding a good husband. I chose engineering because I wanted to make a difference, to build and create. I spent years working on various projects, solving complex problems, and saving companies from financial disasters, but it was all in vain in my father's eyes. My marriage was another blow to my standing in the family. I married young, at 23, to a man named Ryan. He promised me a life of love and adventure, but left me when our daughter, Ava, was just 4 years old. He took off with his mistress and never paid a single cent in child support. My father's response was cold. I should have chosen better. The only person who ever believed in me was my grandmother, Rose. She was a strong-willed woman who had faced many challenges in her life. She worked as a schoolteacher for decades and saved every penny she could. She died when Ava was 5, but I still wear the simple silver bracelet she gave me. She once told me, "Tracy, your worth is not defined by what others think of you. You are a force to be reckoned with." Little did I know that she had set up a trust fund for Ava's education, a secret she took to the grave. Ava and Ethan's son, Leo, grew up in the same family, but in completely different worlds. Leo was a child prodigy. He was accepted into the most prestigious private schools, had a team of tutors, and won numerous awards. At family gatherings, he was the center of attention. Ava, on the other hand, went to public school, wore hand-me-down clothes, and did her homework at the kitchen table while I worked long hours. Her grades were good, but nothing extraordinary. My father always made sure to point out her average nature. One day, when Leo was 18, he received an acceptance letter from Harvard. The whole family gathered at my father's mansion to celebrate. Champagne flowed, and my father was overjoyed. But there was a problem. Harvard was incredibly expensive, and Ethan was in financial trouble after a series of failed business ventures. 3 weeks later, my father called a family meeting. I was exhausted from a double shift at work when I received his call. His voice was cold and commanding. "Sunday at 3 p.m. My house. Don't be late." I had a sinking feeling in my stomach. That night, I couldn't sleep. I rummaged through my closet and found the fireproof box that held Ava's birth certificate, my divorce papers, and the envelope from my grandmother's lawyer. I opened it and saw the trust fund documents. I had almost forgotten about it. On Sunday, I drove Ava to my father's house. She was quiet and tense. When we arrived, the house was filled with family members. Ethan and his wife, Olivia, were sitting on the couch, looking uncomfortable. Leo was standing by the fireplace, wearing a Harvard sweatshirt. Sophia and her husband, Mark, were also there, and Sophia gave me a smug look. My father launched into a speech about family legacy and how Leo represented the future of the Thompson family. Then he got to the point. He knew I had $60,000 set aside for Ava's education and demanded that I give it to Leo to pay for his first year at Harvard. Ava can go to community college, he said. This money would be wasted on her. I was shocked. I tried to explain that the money wasn't mine to give, that it was Ava's. But Sophia laughed. Ava is just average. She'll end up like you, working a dead-end job and living in a small apartment. Then, in a fit of rage, she spat in my face. The room went silent. My father just sat there, watching, saying nothing. That was the moment I snapped. I reached into my purse, pulled out a handkerchief, and wiped the spit from my face. I stood up and said, "This money is in a trust for Ava, set up by my grandmother. It's irrevocable, and I can't give it to Leo." My father's face turned red with anger. He threatened to disown me if I didn't comply. But I was done. I took Ava's hand, and we walked out of the house, never looking back. The next 15 years were tough. We had to make a lot of sacrifices. Ava lived at home, took the bus to school, and worked part-time at a coffee shop. I picked up extra shifts at work and sold my car to make ends meet. But Ava never complained. She studied hard, transferred to a state university, and eventually got a job at a small tech startup. Over the years, I heard through the grapevine that Ethan's business continued to fail. Leo dropped out of Harvard after a year, unable to handle the pressure. Sophia's marriage fell apart, and she lost everything. My father's health started to decline, and he became more and more isolated. 5 years ago, Ava called me with exciting news. An investor had offered her $500,000 to start her own company, a tech startup focused on sustainable energy solutions. She worked day and night, and within a few years, her company, Green Energy Innovations, became a huge success. 6 months ago, we received an invitation to the family reunion. My father, it seemed, wanted to make amends. Ava decided that we should go. 3 days before the reunion, she showed up at my house with a leather briefcase. Inside were the documents for the Rose Thompson Foundation, a charity she had started to provide scholarships and vocational training for women in difficult situations. On the day of the reunion, I drove to my father's house alone. Ava insisted on arriving separately. When I got there, the house looked different. It was shabbier, and the lawn was overgrown. Ethan had gained weight, and his suit was too tight. Olivia looked tired and defeated. Leo was sitting in the corner, looking lost and unemployed. Then I heard the sound of a helicopter. Everyone looked up as Ava's sleek black helicopter landed on the front lawn. She stepped out, wearing a sharp business suit and looking every bit the successful CEO. She walked towards us, her eyes focused and her expression calm. She stopped in front of my father and said, "Grandfather, I'm here because of Grandma Rose. She believed in me when no one else did. You wanted to take away my college fund, but she protected me. I'm not here to reconcile or to make a scene. I'm here to show you what hard work can achieve." She then turned to Leo and offered him a place in the Foundation's career transition program. Leo was shocked and angry at first, but the offer hung in the air. Next, a black SUV pulled up and Sophia stepped out. She looked thin and haggard. Ava offered her a place in the accounting certification program of the Foundation. Sophia was in tears as she accepted the folder. My father collapsed into his chair. He looked at me and said, "Rose was right about you." I just nodded. I didn't need his approval anymore. Ava and I stood together, looking at the family that had once rejected us. I realized that our real victory was not the money or the success. It was the knowledge that we didn't need their validation. We had each other, and that was enough. Now, Ava's company is preparing for an IPO, and the projections are that it could be worth over $500 million. She bought me a beautiful house, and I've retired early. I spend my days gardening, reading, and volunteering at the local community center. And every night, Ava calls me to check in. The lesson I've learned is that you can't make people see your value. You can only live it. You have to set your boundaries, protect your peace, and build your own path. And sometimes, the people who once doubted you will be the ones watching in awe as you soar.